Part 1. The pure whiteness slowly faded. I was kneeling, but no longer in the middle layer. I stood in a boundless, tranquil space, somewhere between all layers. Before me stood the double, but he was no longer a monster. He had my human, translucent form. His face was calm. He said, "We are one. I was your fear. By accepting me, you have brought me home." Then he slowly approached and dissolved into my being. I felt a sense of wholeness and peace. Part 2. Simultaneously with the merge, the world around me began to rearrange itself. It was as if an invisible thread was stitching the torn fabric of reality back together. Scenes from my past life, scenes that had changed after my return, flashed in the air and reverted to their original, correct form. I heard my grandmother's voice saying, "You did well, my son." I knew she was now, in her rightful time, at peace. Part 3. Sarah's shadow appeared one last time, but now she was radiant and whole. She said, "Your task is complete. The fracture knot is mended. I am no longer a wandering shadow. I am now a possibility, the possibility of forgiveness and moving forward." She smiled. "Live for me too, Alex. Just live." Then, like sunlight dissolving mist, she gently faded. This time, I felt no sorrow. Only gratitude. Part 4. I opened my eyes. I was sitting on the bench in the abandoned church, just like the first day. The air was cold, but this cold felt natural. I got up and cautiously walked toward the city. The bakery was at the corner, with its familiar sweet smell. Mr. Mosen stood behind the counter and upon seeing me said, "Alex, my boy. Where have you been all this time? We were worried." My heart constricted with joy. They remembered me. Part 5. I ran to my apartment. My key turned in the lock, and the door opened. Everything was in its place, but with a subtle difference, it now felt lived in. Photos of me and my friends were on the shelf. The vase my grandmother gave me was on the table. I picked up the phone and called Sarah. She answered after 2 rings. Her voice was full of concern and joy. "Alex. Finally. Where were you? We thought, never mind." "I'm glad you're back." I said, "I'm glad I'm back too. Truly back." Part 6. The next day, at work, everything was normal. As if nothing had happened. The only souvenir of the adventure was the mark on my wrist. But it had changed. The 3 circles were no longer faint. They had transformed into a beautiful, natural birthmark, a part of my skin. When I touched it, there was no heat, no cold. Only peace. It wasn't a wound or a gateway. It was a mark of peace, peace with myself, my past, and all the possibilities of my being. Part 7. My grandmother always said, "A person's greatest battle is within themselves." Now I understood deeply what she meant. I had faced my darkest fear, the fear of replacement and loss of identity, and embraced it. By doing so, I not only saved myself but also allowed a suppressed part of my being to find peace. I was stronger now, not because of the fight, but because of the acceptance. Part 8. True freedom isn't liberation from external prisons. True freedom is liberation from the prison of your own mind, the prison of fear, regret, and denial of parts of yourself. I was now free. I could live without the heavy burden of a hidden past or the fear of a parallel future. I could be fully present in the now. That was the greatest gift this journey gave me. Part 9. Life flowed on. I made plans with Sarah and Mark. I focused on new work. Sometimes I thought about the adventure, but it felt like a distant dream, a dream whose lesson was etched in my soul. One day in the park, I saw a little boy playing with his own shadow. I smiled at him. His mother looked at me curiously. I said, "Sorry. Just remembered something. We all have shadows. The important thing is to make friends with them." Part 10. My story had ended, but my life had just begun. Not as a hero, but as a more whole human, one who knows the darkness and light within and accepts both as part of his journey. The last time I looked at the mark on my wrist, I noticed it had completely faded. As if its job was done and it had left. I no longer needed it. I, myself, with all my complexities and beauty, was enough. And that was the most beautiful beginning possible.